What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Time to Talk Denver. My name is Tom Luthner, and I am sorry for the lack of episodes. I am currently at work like crazy, especially with the Mets' upcoming West Coast shift. As you could probably tell, I'm at work right now. So let's just get into it. I'm going to cover everything I haven't covered yet, and the first thing I'm going to start with is Deron Holmes getting hurt in the Summer League. So personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Summer League. I think that it sort of hurts players more than helps, especially in this case where a player like this gets hurt. And now the organization loses him for the entire season. The reason I'm not the biggest fan is because most of the players playing in the Summer League are fighting for roster spots rather than being drafted in the first round and being on the team. That's how I feel. I know people don't agree because you need to see how talented the player actually is. And I think that those early NBA games that don't matter as much as the later games, those are what they're meant for. Or if somebody gets hurt or somebody needs a break, that's how you get your minutes. So especially for a first rounder, obviously guys like Trey Alexander, who I'll cover later, they deserve the Summer League opportunity. Or a guy like Julian Strawther, who, I mean, again, he was on the roster last year. You don't really want to see him play, but he needs to. A guy like Jalen Pickett, which I'll cover all those players in a little bit. So that sucks, especially because he was supposed to be our backup guy who was very versatile. And again, we're going to go into a signing, and the signing is Dario Saric, and they were able to come off the bench together, and that would have been super nice to see Saric and Holmes coming in at power forward and center for either Jokic, MPJ, or Gordon. So that's super unfortunate, especially because he was that versatile center that the Nuggets had off the bench, which now those minutes go to Dario Saric, which isn't a bad signing. I'm a huge fan of Dario Saric, but it makes his contract look better now that we lost Holmes. So his contract is 2 years, $10.6 million, which is amazing. A guy who's good, versatile. He can do everything you need him to. And again, it's unfortunate that Holmes went down because it would have been nice to see them together. So with that Sarge contract, I think that it gives Denver the opportunity to switch up that starting five a lot. I think that he's going to be coming off the bench majority of the time, but now it gives us an opportunity to compete with a team like Minnesota, a team like in the East, a team like the Knicks, a team like the Celtics who have bigger lineups, defensive lineups, and I would love to see a lineup, some games being run of Jamal Murray, MPJ, Dario Saric, Aaron Gordon, and Jokic. I like the big starting fives. I know we ran it a couple of years ago, and again, Saric is a career 36.2 3-point percent shooter, so that's not bad. I mean, again, I believe it's around league average, maybe a little bit under, a little bit higher. So that's nice. He can stretch the floor. And if he comes in offensively, you could throw Gordon down in the low post with Jokic, and you could play him, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray outside of the three-point line, especially with those kinds of numbers, because we're going to be lacking that shooting that we lost with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So we're going to need somebody to make up for those opportunities. I hope it's Christian Braun. I hope he gains the confidence to actually take those shots, but we shall see. Moving on to another signing, I really do like the Russell Westbrook signing. So we needed a backup point guard going into the offseason. Again, we didn't really have the greatest backup point guard. I mean, Reggie Jackson was a good player, but we ended up trading him for some money, which we needed, and that money ended up turning into Russell Westbrook, which I'm very happy about. The guy's a vet. I mean, you can't not love Russell Westbrook for what he did throughout his career. I know everybody says that he's a choke artist, he's a bum, he's a stat pattern. I personally like him. The guy was dominant in his prime. I know he's not in his prime, he's far from it, but he's a good player, and I think that the Lakers, they trade from the Wizards to the Lakers, sort of ruined his career, derailed it a lot because he just wasn't in the right spot. You can't put him, Anthony Davis, and LeBron together. It was never going to work. We saw them try to do some things where they threw together a bunch of star players, especially throughout LeBron's career, and it hasn't always worked. So I like him on the team. I think that he's going to be a good backup, especially because going off of Summer League, Jalen Pickett looks awful. He does not look good. I know he's faced a lot of backlash for that, so I think that Westbrook's going to be our number 2 guy. And if Jamal does get hurt, again, going off of Summer League, we now have Trey Alexander, who looks awesome, and we'll get back to that later. Trey Alexander looks amazing, so now you could run, if Murray goes down for any time, you could run, Russell Westbrook starting, Trey Alexander's your backup, and now you have those guys who can give you those minutes. Trey Alexander is also 6'4", so he can give you some shooting guard time, not too much. I mean, it depends on the matchup, obviously, but you don't want him going against a guy like Luka, who's 6'7", if he's 6'4", but I like the pickup of Westbrook. Again, he's on a 2-year, $6 million, I believe, so he's on a vet minimum, which is super nice for us. It keeps us under that apron, which is awesome. And again, you need that veteran talent coming into the locker room, especially come playoff time, when this guy's had, a very good amount of experience in the playoffs, being on winning teams for just about his entire career. So speaking of backup point guards, we're going to get to the Summer League, and we're going to talk about Pickett. I sort of had high hopes for Pickett going into this year, knowing that we lost Reggie Jackson. I thought that he was going to be good, and he has struggled enormously in the summer league. And what are you going to do now that you have Trey Alexander, who looks good in the summer league, and you have Russell Westbrook coming off your bench? Pickett might not be on the team next year. He might be playing in the G League, or he might trade him for some second round assets, or I don't know what's going to happen, but he does not look good. But speaking of Trey Alexander and Julian Strother are the two guys I have my eyes on in the summer league just because they are so good in the summer league. They might be awesome for us in the regular season, especially losing KCP. Brown and Strother are going to look like the first two guys up off the bench at shooting guard. Obviously, now Westbrook, we don't know. Maybe we'll see Westbrook and Jamal Murray playing at the same time, but you don't really know. I don't think they would do that just because the lack of shooting, I guess you can say, where with Gordon, who's not a bad shooter, he's just not confident enough to take that many shots, and a guy like Westbrook, who's just not a good shooter realistically, especially from the arc. Mid-range is a different story, even though lately in the last couple of years of his career he hasn't been too good. So I think we'll see Strother and Alexander from our summer league team play the most. Another guy I'm paying attention to is PJ Hall, just because with the Holmes injury, you might see Hall rather get some backup center minutes, especially with Saric. Again, the Nuggets might be at a 10-man rotation where they go two lineups two lineups off the bench, two lineups in general and one lineup off the bench, and that lineup off the bench would be probably, depending on who starts, can be Westbrook, Strother. If Brown comes off the bench, Brown will be there. It'll be Watson. You'll probably have Trey Alexander, depending on the height. And then you have a guy like Saric, you have a guy like PJ Hall, one of those two big guys, or you see Trey Alexander come in as the 11 man, and I think that would be great. The last point I want to make is I would love to see one more free agent signing, because it looks like we're going to lose Justin Holiday. I know it's tough with the second apron, but guys like Lonnie Walker, Gordon Hayward, THT, Luke Kennard, Jay Crowder, Danilo Gallinari, Omer Yurtseven, and then a guy like Jordan Nwora, maybe a guy like Chimze Metu. Those are only some names I can name that I have written down. And a guy like Jordan Nwora, I would not mind. He's a big body, could play defense, 33% from the three-point line. Again, you need some shooting off the bench. You're losing a lot of shooting in KCP. So I would love to see one of those guys get signed by Denver. But again, that's all I can cover right now. Again, I'm at work. I'm on my break. So I just want to get an episode out while I can. And hopefully there are, some more moves that Denver makes I could cover in a little while. And if not, I'll try to do what I can to get some episodes out before the season starts. But thank you guys for checking in. Hopefully you guys are here for the next episode. Hopefully I get some more episodes out soon, and thanks for checking in.